Hello, Alicia. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited about today's episode, our first episode. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little stressed.
Oh, really? Funny you should say that. And our topic today is on stress. What makes you feel stressed?
We get to the beginning of a new year, and all the stress kind of comes. We start to just think about what we wanted to do different last year, right? And then we have like this way of piling so much on us, especially as moms, career people, wives, stay at home. It's just so much at the top of the year.
Yeah, definitely. So I think with you, like kind of just sharing how you have been stressed at this top of the year, right? I think for me, definitely stress comes about with running a business, right? But I want to kind of go in and give the definition of stress for those that may not know what stress really is, but also we also are able to say for ourselves what our stress is, but sometimes people need to know the actual definition. So we're going to give you that, right?
Yeah.
Stress is the body's natural physical and emotional reaction to demands or challenges, stressors, that would have an impact on your body, right? So, stress can manifest in cognitive ways, which is your thinking, emotional or physical, and even behavioral
Mhm.
ways. And so, with that being said, somebody can be stressed and it can be mild, or it can be severe. So, it can have a range. So, for you, you're like, okay, so top of the year, getting back into the groove of everything, it becomes stressful. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know that to be true for myself. But also when you think about people coming after the holidays, right? It's so many reasons why somebody could become stressed, right? Whether it's the finances of paying off, buying all of the Christmas gifts, or just like, oh, it's the first of the month, so now I have to get pay all these bills, right? But
Mhm.
then also, of course, we know New Year's resolutions and all of the goals for the year.
Mhm.
That can become stressful for people, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And so it's one of them things that we never really know how it's manifesting inside of us until we really in tune into our bodies because that's what it is, right? It is the biggest planning. Like we're planning our whole life, 365 days. We'd be like, January, let's put all this is what I want done. Like that's not realistic, and
Right.
then we are stressed because we're trying to do way more than that we can actually kind of do. And that's where like knowing our boundaries, that's knowing, realistic expectations of what we can accomplish. And it's okay because we have the whole year ahead of us. So
Hmm.
everything doesn't need to happen in January, but in our minds, for some reason, I tell myself everything is happening starting January 1.
Yeah. I think definitely the whole hype, that whether it's through social media or just the New Year's resolutions, and I want to achieve this or that goal. But it really requires people to know that, yes, it's the new year, but it is still just you doing life. And
Mhm.
if you are wanting to accomplish some new goals for the new year, not to put so much pressure on yourself where you feel like, okay, so if I don't get this done or it needs to be done by this time frame, like really planning things out. And I now, for myself, use a quarterly method versus thinking about the whole year because
So
I don't
tell
want
me
to be
more about the
stressed.
quarterly method. How do that work?
So with the quarterly method, it really is, what do I want to focus on in this first quarter? What are
Yeah.
the goals that I will likely want to achieve? And I don't set out to achieve so many goals all at once because I'm one person. And
Mhm.
so I have, with running a business, with my children are adults, of course, so I don't have that, in the sense of needing to care for them, but I do still support them. And so, in that, it can be where, for me, I am looking at what it is that I want for myself, in that first quarter, business, personal. So looking at those things and then breaking it down, because it's not just that you write a goal down, you also have to write down the action steps as well as putting a time frame on it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What do
Yeah,
you
that's
do?
really
What are some things that you do to alleviate or even try to manage your stress?
so one thing that I'm doing this year, I'm doing, I said that the realistic expectation, like what really can I get done, right? So that I can make it more manageable. I think if it's more manageable in the sense of, like you said, if I have a whole list of 20 things to do, I'm stressed. But if I make it manageable in a sense of maybe 5 things in January of something big and then February, 5 more, then I can break it down into littler, smaller goals that is more achievable, right? And then
Mm,
those goals that's achievable, once you start to see them getting, clicked, you just kind of just feel like I'm making moves like I wanted to without the stress of, I'm doing it all in 1 month in January, all this whole list, right?
right, right. I think that definitely is a good way to tackle it, to think about it when you say, okay, so let me just put so much on my plate and only work on these things.
Mhm.
And then once I see these achieved, it builds confidence, of course, and then you can move on to the next. I think a big factor for people too is that they create these to-do lists. And so they may have 20 plus things on this to-do list. That within itself is stressful. When you think about it, like I know for me, even when I was in corporate, I would write out a to-do list and leave it on my desk for the next day when I would come in. And so then I'm like, I'm gonna tackle all these things, right? And it's nothing wrong with writing the things down, but being realistic, like you said, about having 20 things on the list. How about you write the list so that way you're doing a mental dump, you're getting it out. It's not where you're gonna forget about it. But once you do that, then now let's just tackle 2 to 3 things on this list.
Mhm.
Getting those things done, feeling accomplished, and then moving to the next.
Yeah.
That even sounds even better and even feels, when I say that, it feels like relief. I don't have that pressure on me. And so I think that that's a good topic or even just a suggestion for people to know when you are planning, how do you go about planning? What
Hmm.
steps do you take? And really looking at it and being okay with knowing that you can always change things. Nothing is etched in stone or just like solidified where you don't get to change. So many people get frustrated and stressed with, I made this plan and it's not going the way that I wanted to,
Yeah.
versus, okay, I made this plan and I need to adjust.
So you just said something, right? So just kind of just thinking about something. Let's talk about like the stress that others put on us, right? Because top of the year, everyone comes with those New Year resolutions and we do too, right? But when we start not hitting the goal, as we said on social media, I'm going to the gym 5 times a week, and we don't hit the goal like we want, what stress do that put on us from the outside noise of you seeing such and such hitting the gym like you wanted to, or even someone holding you accountable by calling you out for not hitting those goals? What type of stress, like how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So that is more so of comparison, right? Like when you start to compare yourself looking at social media, or even if you think about, like, okay, so everybody else is doing this or that, or even when you think about committing to something. So the comparison piece is one thing, right? If you're looking at others and what they're doing, and wanting to keep up. So comparison is a thief, right? It robs
Mhm.
you of your joy, your peace, because you're always looking to the right or left of you versus staying in your lane. It's so important for you to be able to be honest with yourself about your capacity and what you're capable of doing. The other piece is the integrity with yourself, right? So people will create the New Year's resolutions, especially around weight loss or just like getting fit, right? And they're like, I'm gonna be in the gym 5 days a week. But if that's what you want, then how are you planning for that, right? It will require you whether what time do you have to get up to get to the gym to do that? Or are you going to work out in the evening after work? Are you going to already have your clothes together that you need to be able to go and do that? You know, you got to think about all of the aspects that would possibly get in your way, but then also just really taking the time out to plan out your day and knowing that if this is what I'm committing to, because it requires commitment, it requires
Mhm.
self discipline, it requires integrity with yourself. So, those are some other pieces and factors that you have to, you know, think about when you tell yourself, this is what I want to achieve. Not that it's not achievable, but just being real honest with yourself. And then in that, now you have the footing, you have the steps that's necessary, and then it's the implementation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that that's really big, right? Because we compare and then we become so stressed in the sense of I'm not doing, and I'm so overwhelmed because I'm not doing. And that stress is just, all bodied inside the tension of not sleeping, or, you get just the pains and the aches in the body because of the
Yeah.
stress. And it's just like you said, once we sit down and create a plan, and have that plan, that's something that is achievable, because that's a big part, right?
Mhm.
But actually start to make proper steps to get to that goal, then that comparison is not happen, that stress is not happening. And then overall, that well-being of happiness just occurs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely when you're not comparing yourself, then you only have you to look at. And
Mhm.
even with that, like not giving yourself grace because you're human. So not to beat yourself up and to know that you can always jump back on. So often when people lose their way or fall off, right, with the resolution, then they just give up versus, okay, so I didn't go 1 or 2 days, or I didn't go this particular week. So now I just need to get back on it. I
Mhm.
still have the goal. It still exists, right?
Mhm.
So that's the important piece. But I heard you say, hey, what does it feel like when you're stressed, right? When you were given the example of you may have aches and pains in your body, right?
Mhm.
You may feel definitely lethargic, tired, more, needing to rest, right? Because stress has an impact on you physically and mentally. You
Yeah.
know, the
Mhm.
mental aspect of it, you can have like a fog, like where you're like, okay, my brain, I just can't remember, or what's really, because you have so much weight of the stress that you're like, okay, so, and you're like, okay, what's wrong? Why can't I think clearly? Or what is this fog? Yeah, stress can do that for you for sure.
Yeah. Sure
Mm-hmm.
can, for sure.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we now we're gonna talk about, the other things that stress can lead to.
Yeah.
It's a gateway to, depression, to the
Mm-hmm.
anxiety. So it leads the way to a lot of more issues.
Mm-hmm.
But if we start off, like you said, tackling our goals in a sense of, writing them down, making them, achievable in a sense of what is realistic. Can I do this? Will I do this? Not comparing, not looking at others. If you take that weight off of you,
Yeah.
well, I mean, in a sense, you can relieve some of that stress too, just by
That is so
planning.
true. Definitely. I always suggest a mental dump, right? Like getting it out of your head. Like,
Hmm.
what is it that keeps coming to you that's causing you to be stressed? Is it something that you can solve? Or is it out of your control? Just really putting things on paper and
Yeah.
becoming clear about what it is that keeps coming up for you that is a stressor.
Yeah, yeah, I think that that's really because it's almost like you're seeing the items that is subliminally bothering you, and now you're able to tackle them because you dumped it all off on paper, and now you able to see it. And once we see our goal and we see the problem, then it's easier to kind of tackle the problem too.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
so yeah, yeah. Now,
That piece is with self awareness, right? You're saying when you become self aware, now what you do with that, right? So,
correct.
yeah. So, and that's another factor in Just not when people are like, well, how do I handle stress or what do I do to manage stress? My suggestion is always a combination. It really is where physical activity, exercise, will help you de stress, but also therapy, like really having a safe place to be able to process thoughts and emotions, to be able to have that solution focus, if that's the modality that's being used, so that you can alleviate stress.
Yeah, and it's like you said, that gives you an outside opinion to the problem, right? Because we see our situation and we get stressed just looking at what situation we are in. But sometimes an outside person that's not biased and that can only go off of the facts that you gave can help you look at it in a different way, a different vision.
Right.
And
So
so
a
that in
different
itself.
perspective. Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's in itself relieve stress is just knowing like, okay, maybe there is a way through this versus just, trying to push
Yeah.
hard. You're like,
Holding on to it, thinking that there's
right,
no way out of it,
right.
carrying it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that's what people do because they don't know how to go about releasing it, and how to de-stress. So
Mhm,
that is a, I'm glad you said that, right? Like, so just really, hey, it's help for you. You
mhm,
can de-stress. You can have support through therapy, but also you can also physically with working out, definitely that allows you to de-stress, but in, helps with endorphins, and so those things are important factors,
mhm.
but then just overall, I know people may be thinking, okay, so if I do those things, that doesn't mean that my stress is going to go away because my situation didn't change. So they're like, hey, I wouldn't have to do all of those things if my situation wasn't what it was. And
Yeah.
for me, life is going to be life, right?
Mhm.
So it's not that you're not going to be faced with things.
Right.
How you go about handling it. That's
Mhm,
that's what is we're speaking of when we think about stress and how to alleviate it, right? It's like, what is your perspective about this situation? Of course, nobody wants to experience anything negative, but we
right.
know in life that that's not going to always be the case. So
Right.
when things are lifing, when life is lifing, what do you do to be able to manage? And that's what I'm hoping that from this particular episode and just from us talking about it, and we know for ourselves how we go about managing our own stress.
Yeah. And you know what? And the thing about it is it's reminding ourselves too, because I have to remind myself so much. Top of the year, I set all these goals. It didn't work week one. There's still a week two, there's still a week three, and there's still a February one. There's still like we have to just it might not go the right way the first time, but failure is quitting, not trying and trying. You're still trying.
Yeah.
So that's real
Yeah.
big to remember.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said failure is quitting, right? So often people are like, well, I failed at that. And I always say, I don't even like to use the word fail, right? Because it's not, you didn't give up. So if something did not work out versus using the word I failed, it didn't work out. And so I need to tweak, I need to change, I need to do it a different way. Oh, I learned from this experience taught me that this is not the way that I'm going to get to what I'm trying to get to. But it does not mean that I failed. It means that I learned and had an experience.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we can get on a whole soapbox about the whole thing of failure and what people how they perceive it and how it takes over their mind. And that as well can
Yeah.
cause stress. Just thinking that you have failed. Why put that on you versus the continuous trying? So I just had a great time talking about stress with you today.
Oh, well, thank you. I also enjoy myself. I'm so excited about this first episode. So I'm like, okay, I can't wait to the next one. So if you are new to our channel, because this is new, so we are new. So just know we are hoping that you subscribe to our channel. Don't just peek in, don't just listen, subscribe. Okay, I hope this helps somebody.